don't want what we know out there.
How a person can go from really almost nothing to becoming a millionaire by owning rental properties.
He would always buy these flip houses, and I just remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Why would he buy that house?
In the past decade, there's been a huge surge in the peer-to-peer short-term rental market.
Become an insider. So you have to know the rules before you get the game.
Every second counts. So make every second count.
Welcome to the Real Estate Jam. Whether you're just beginning or the best of the best, we're glad you're here. We will share successes, failures, and strategies for the action-taking real estate investor. And now to your hosts, JD, Annabel, and Melissa.
Hey guys, welcome to the Real Estate Jam podcast. I'm JD with my co-hosts Annabel and Melissa, and we have a great show that's near and dear to our heart today. Some of our friends, John and Wynde, that they specialize in short-term rentals and short-term rental arbitrage. And so we're going to pack this episode full of awesome insights. John and Wynde, we are super excited to have you on the show today. How are you guys doing?
Blessed to be here, man. We appreciate you guys and super excited.
Awesome. Yeah, fantastic.
Well, yeah, we're grateful for the opportunity. I know a lot of our audience, we might have similar because we met and, we've been growing together in this real estate adventure at the Kingdom Real Estate. So I know we haven't seen each other in a little while, but kind of tell us kind of where you started in real estate, where your business is now, and then specifically maybe tell us a little bit about how the short-term vacation rentals are doing right now while we kind of handle this travel ban and this COVID-19 stuff.
You want to take that one or you want me to go with it? Or
yeah, you go ahead. I'll jump in.
Yeah. So if you want to go all the way back, we started 2016, early 2016. And probably watched a little too much HGTV,
maybe
to be
just
honest.
A little
bit. We decided, hey, this real estate thing looks cool. Let's go do that. And by the way, all the people making money are flipping houses, so let's go do that. And so that's how we got our start. And
we were working jobs.
Yeah.
I was a French teacher, and John was stuck in a cubicle being a software developer.
True. And so that's what we did. So we went and found our first deal and flipped that house. And while we didn't make a ton of money, we made money. So we said, hey, that's a way to do it. And so we did another one and another one. And as we went along, we discovered that some things go good in that world and some things go bad in that world, and it's not like you see on TV. And definitely the numbers aren't, right? Dealing with contractors and that kind of thing. And so we had a couple go bad is basically what happened. And we ended up with being accidentally landlords because we got into a flip that we put way too much money into, to the point that it wasn't a flip anymore. It was okay, let's hold it for a while. Let's see if we can, rent it and try to get our money back out of it type of situation. And meanwhile, Wynde and I had gone down to Florida,
that's right.
I believe,
that's right.
For vacation, just part of our family. And we stayed in a short-term rental. At that time, we would say it was an Airbnb or that one may have been HomeAway.
It may have been a HomeAway.
But
yeah.
Whatever. We stayed in one of those and it was awesome. And when we came back from the trip, I remember Wynde saying, hey, we should put a bed in our basement. Because where we live in our community, we have a basement in our home, and it's finished, it's furnished even, and it was our kind of movie theater place that we would go as a family.
So I designed it and I decorated it, and it's all like movie theater themed. And I said, hey, you know what? We could do that in our basement. All we would need is like a bed and a coffee pot and a microwave.
And I was totally against it, by the way.
He was.
Yeah.
He
wow.
This does not sound like a good idea to me.
But I did it anyway.
Of course you did.
I know how that feels.
I was like, you know what? I'll just go get a bed. And so that's what I did. And he grumbled the entire time. And, I put it up on Airbnb, and we don't live anywhere near. We live 30 minutes outside of Charlotte, the city.
Well, it's kind of one of those things. People ask you where you're from. You say you're from Charlotte because
Right.
that's where people would know.
Right,
but we
right.
don't
But
really
we
live
don't
in Charlotte.
really,
We live
yeah.
30 minutes outside of.
Right. So, and I was like, man, is anybody going to come? I don't know. We're kind of far out of the city. And so, all right, we're just going to do it. Let's just do it. So we did it. And lo and behold, people started coming. And we started out at, I don't know, $59 a night or something crazy low. And the people just started. The second booking that we got was a guy coming for work, and he stayed for like 3 months.
Yeah, which was scary, by the way.
You just had somebody move in with you.
Right.
Yeah, it was, already I was kind of like, I don't know if we want to do this or not. And the second booking we get wants to say 3 months.
Oh.
And that doesn't sound like a try it out and see if it works type of thing to me. But it turned out to be one of the best bookings we ever had because they were here for work, and this person stayed during the week, and they didn't even stay on the weekends. They went home.
Right.
It was great. It was great money. But what it turned into was going back to that flip that turned into a rental. That one we were getting a nice paycheck out of, despite having too much money in it.
Because we owned it free.
Because we owned it free. We were doing it all with our own
purpose.
cash. And so we were getting after property management, we were getting $870 a month out of it, which is great for a single family home. If you don't consider that we had $110,000 in it.
Right.
Yeah.
But the paycheck was fine. But
when we got it.
But we were sitting there in the garage, as we do, because we sit out in our garage. We don't actually park our cars in them. We have furniture out there. We sit out and we talk about things.
Well, it's Charlotte, so the weather's really nice all the time. So.
And so we were sitting, and it was August of 2.5 years ago, whenever that was. And we figured out that, hey, yeah, we were getting $870 from that place, but we had made $1,200 in the basement that month.
Wow.
And we'd spent maybe $2,000 on stuff from Craigslist to put down there. And that was kind of our aha. Hey, maybe instead of doing all this stuff that seems really hard and requires a lot of capital, maybe we should just do more of that. But of course, the problem was we didn't have but the one basement.
Right.
And it was like, how do we get more basements? And how do we acquire these properties? And it was that point that we figured out, okay, you don't have to own them, you can rent them. And we kind of went down that path, and that became kind of our niche and something that we enjoyed, for one thing.
I like the hosting part.
Yes.
You know, I like the decorating it, making it look pretty. So that's that's how we work. So I go get it. You know, I talk to the landlords, I decorate it, make it look pretty, and then I turn it over to John and say, here, run this for me. And that's what he does. He does like the operation stuff. So we work really well together as a team because we have different skills.
Yeah. And that became then I became a believer, and that's kind of the path we're on now. So ever since then, we've done the short-term rental game. And
about 2.5 years now.
And that's been what we've done since.
Yep.
Wendy, can you talk about, because y'all's model is a little bit different than a lot of people, and I think it's super cool how you go about finding the properties. And then a follow-up to that is going to be, do you think how you find them as an agent helps you get in the door with them versus somebody who might not be?
Yeah, I think so. That's a really good question and a really good point to bring up. So we always start with, whom do we serve? Always, because our customer guides everything that we do. It guides where we find our properties, what type of properties we're looking for, what we put inside the units. It guides everything. So, for example, we serve families with children and pets coming to Charlotte who are in between housing, relocating to the area, or have an insurance claim on their personal property. That's who we serve. So when families are in between housing, and as I'm a licensed real estate agent here, that also kind of gives me a little bit of clout when I'm talking to landlords as well. They, everything that we as agents do we need to be on the up and up and make sure that we, handle everything legally. So, we look into the CCNRs and the HOA rules and, make sure the ordinances are in place before we, go forward with the property. And because we serve families with children, they value privacy, and that's why one of the main reasons that we have houses. And because we are a family with children and pets.
Oh yeah, 30 days in a hotel? No, thank you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, when we travel, it's like,
right?
Yeah, that's the last place I want to stay.
And we have
no way.
Huge labs. I mean, they're each 100 pounds.
Wow.
So finding a place, when we were going to the beach, I mean, it was practically impossible to find a place, because the dogs love the beach. And, people are starting to travel with their pets all the time. Mm-hmm. So that's what we really focus on. And we've really narrowed down our niche that way, is focusing on families. And when you're in between housing, I mean, and you have a pet, the pets are like a member of the family too, right? So we like to have houses with nice fenced-in backyards. So I think that has really helped us, and everything that we do depends on whom do we serve.
That's amazing. And that's a lot to unpack. But one of the things that we just kind of glossed over, and I think it's because we're real comfortable with it, is you said earlier that you found out that you can do these short-term rentals without actually owning the property. And I think if somebody that was just getting into real estate heard that, it would like blow their mind, right? Because that's not the way you think of it. Could you break down that piece of it a little bit and pretend like maybe we were brand new to the industry and didn't understand what that looked like? Because I think that's one of the most awesome things that I heard and learned about when I was first looking into the short-term rentals.
Yeah, for sure. And that was something that was kind of when I went back to that, how could we have more basements? And our first thought was, how can we buy more property? And that now becomes a very capital intensive thing. Mm-hmm. You've got to, even if it's private money or even if it's bank loans or whatever, that's a lot of money relatively. If you could just go lease the property, then everybody's familiar with that. Almost everybody in the world has leased property at some point, whether it was an apartment you're staying in or a house or whatever. And that's very easy to do. And you will also notice that, hey, your capital requirement is probably a security deposit and first month's rent.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Instead of a down payment on that mythical, $100,000 property where you got to put 20 grand down on it. And then you got to furnish it. If I can lease the property, then now it's a $1,200 commitment maybe for security deposit, and then maybe I furnish it for 15 grand. So I'm taking that 20 grand that I would have put down initially and just using that to furnish the property.
Right.
Of course, you're not getting the benefits of being the property owner. As real estate people, we all think about the tax benefits and the appreciation and all those kind of things, which are real benefits to owning property. And ultimately, that should be your ultimate goal if you're in real estate, is to own the property. But for expanding and getting into the business and all of that, I think your capital goes a long way. It goes further and helps you generate cash flow faster, and can be a real entry point into the real estate world. To where you can start generating cash flow by just renting the properties and furnishing them and leasing them out, and then taking that cash flow and putting some of it aside so that then you can at some point go generate those down payments and start buying that real estate and start doing that thing. So it kind of becomes the goose that lays the golden egg, so to speak. But you have to get across some mental hurdles about who would ever let me do that, and what's my value in the marketplace, and those types of things. And that's what you've got to get strong in your head is, why would somebody even want to do that? And there are myriad of reasons. For example, vacancy is a thing for landlords. So, our customers, Wendy talked about, who do you serve? And she talked about it on the who is staying there side. But in reality, we have a customer on the landlord side too, where they have vacancy, they want steady income. That's the game they're in and playing. And they want quality tenants that aren't going to mess up the property, that aren't going to go in there and put holes in the walls and things like that. And that's the kind of thing that we provide because it's in our best business interest to be those good tenants.
Right. Because
it has to look like the pictures every time. When we have somebody come stay with us, it has to be clean. It has to be in tip-top shape. We do minor maintenance because it's in our best interest to do it. So it actually becomes a very great partnership with landlords, especially we typically do houses, but especially in the multifamily space where you are trying to fill vacancy, and operators like us can be a real great solution for those people.
Wendy, can you, I know I've talked about it with y'all because I thought it was just so cool when I met you guys. Can you talk about how you have that conversation with the landlord?
Sure. So the mindset to have whenever I go talk to a landlord is I'm there to solve a problem, and I don't know what their problem is going to be. So I'm really just going to trying to find out what that is. So I'm going to be asking questions. I may say something like, I see this property's been for rent for more than 30 days. Why do you think that is? And so I'm asking those leading questions in order to get to what their real problem is. Maybe they're having trouble finding quality tenants. It could be a number of things, but I go in there with that mindset of, this landlord has a problem and my company has a solution, whatever it might be. So I'm going in there to find out what their problem is, and then I am going to provide that answer, and I'm going to say, hey, my business does this, this, and this, and I can help solve your problem this way, and this way.
And do you get pushback?
Oh, sure. Yes.
Okay.
All the time. Everybody says, oh, this sounds like Airbnb. And I say, well, that's interesting that you would say that. Why do you think that way? And then it comes out what their real problem is, right? What is their problem? They think it's going to be a party house, right? Well, here's the systems and processes that we have in place to allow that not to happen, right? I mean, we have a security system. We have 24-hour monitoring. We change door codes in between every guest. It's stuff like that. We've built systems and processes. We've put those in place so that stuff like that doesn't happen. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was really good. And so when y'all first told me how you did it, I was like, man, I don't know how I feel about that. If as a landlord, because I have, some properties too, if somebody proposed that to me. And so once you explained it better, I could understand more so. So do you have like noise monitors?
Sure. Yeah, we use a noise monitoring device, because you're not allowed to record
Right.
voice inside the property, but we do use a noise monitoring decibel device, and you can insert it, you can set it to a certain threshold, and if any time that threshold gets exceeded, then we get an alert.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we can notify the guest, and that's automatic as well, and that.
How does that work? Does
That-
John go over there?
Yep.
We have backups to backups.
Right.
We've done it long enough that we have procedures in place, and at this point it's not always us.
Right. So we train
part of it's
someone
building a
to do
team
that for
and
you.
training
Yeah.
people to do it. But the general process is when somebody shows up at the property, meaning they're checking in, there's somebody that's monitoring that to say, is this the person that booked? Does it match with what they said? So for example, if it's, hey, we booked for 4 people and it's me and my wife and our 2 kids and 5 dudes show up, that might be a red flag that something is wrong. But
maybe,
but you have to monitor that. And there's so many people that don't.
No, you're right. We've already had that situation with spring break before everything happened, and it was not monitored to what I felt it should be.
Yeah. So you have to that's your first line of defense. Well, it's the second line of defense, really. Your first line of defense is screening.
Yes.
So you screen to a certain extent.
We do have a screening process.
But when people show up, you've got to have some system in place where you are validating that person is who they said they were, and they didn't show up with 4 kegs, and
right,
or it's not pet friendly and they showed up with a dog.
Right.
A lot of our places are pet friendly, but some aren't. So you've got to monitor that stuff, and you've got to have a way for it to be. If it's going to be scalable, it's got to be a way for somebody in the Philippines to do it. Right. It can't be an app on your phone that. I could get on my soapbox about systems, but it's got to be, something that is scalable.
Yep.
And I see a lot of that too, where people try to cheap out.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
they're
like,
see that a lot.
They're like, well, I could do it cheaper this way, and I'm like, yeah, but it's not scalable.
Right.
So there's some of that too, but that's our first line of defense. Is second line of defense after screening. We check who's checking in, and then we have monitoring placed during the stay to say, hey, is everything good? So, I mean, that's the basics of it. And you're going to have bad guests. You're going to,
sure.
And then you've got to have your procedures in place of, okay, what do we do now? What do we do when that happens? And so we've got those in place too. So it needs to be taken care of, but that's part of what I keep saying about, building the system and having team members and all that kind of thing.
I know you guys literally wrote the book on some of these things, which definitely helped prepare us for our first 2 short-term rentals this year. But can you tell us a little bit about the other side of it, the management side of it? How did you learn through that? What training did you pursue to make sure you guys were ready to take on, a number of properties and manage them well?
Well, some of the training is in on the job.
Yeah.
But
yeah, a lot of it.
But go for it, Wendy.
We actually have a mentor, and his name is Jay Massey. So we've learned a lot from him.
Awesome.
Cashflow Diaries, right?
Cashflow Diaries, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's probably a familiar name in the
Yeah.
the real estate world, but we know Jay quite well, and he's helped us quite a bit in getting a lot of those things set. But then there are other things that you just have to go out and do.
Yeah.
And it just like when we were flipping houses, like people can tell you as much as they can give you, But
until you do it.
And you
Right.
guys know there's stuff
Yeah.
that you just learn.
Yep.
You know that hey, we ain't doing that again.
Yeah.
I think.
Right. Like, don't use this contractor. Right.
Yeah. And it becomes that way in this business too. There's no substitute for experience. There's
Really
not.
Are you guys then managing all your own properties and doing that? And do you do that through a separate entity, like a management company, or are you operating your properties? I'm not sure how it works if you're doing the Airbnb or the short-term arbitrage where you don't actually own the property, you're just leasing it, but are you operating two businesses simultaneously, the management company in one and the holding company in the other, or what is that?
When you say no, but
It's all one company.
it is. Yes, I hear what you're saying, but what I would say is that your short-term rental business should be separate from your real estate business, and ours is too. We have
if you want to hold the property,
we have J&W Property Investments, and we also
holds
have
the property.
Yes, and we also have
when
Queen
we
City
own it.
Suites.
Yes, and then Queen City Suites leases the property.
Okay.
And the reason for that is those two businesses have way different liability.
Right.
Way different liability and different insurance requirements and different tax structures and everything else. So, for example, I'm not giving legal advice, but if you're a short-term rental business, you most likely are going to be organized as something like an S corp. If you're flipping houses, you're probably more in the LLC range. So they're just two different things,
right.
as far as that goes. But that's what my CPA tells me and my lawyer tells me.
Right.
And they're just two different businesses. I always say that short-term rentals are not real estate. They can be a gateway to real estate, but you're in the hospitality business.
Right.
The real estate is kind of incidental. And I kind of relate it to, if you own an Army Navy store, doesn't mean you have to own the strip mall that you're located your business in.
Right.
Right. They're two totally separate businesses. And I think a lot of real estate investors make that mistake because you have that real estate mindset and you're very focused on the property, but it's no different than if you owned a strip mall and you said, hey, if we put an Army Navy store in, we could make more money. True, but they're two totally separate businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no different than saying, hey, if we turn this property into a short-term rental, we can make more money. Yeah. Sure, but you own two separate businesses.
Is there a reason that you guys decided to keep that management and the hosting as a part of what you were actually doing, as opposed to using a property management company to handle it that way?
Yeah, because your margins in the short-term rental business are between 20 and 35%.
Mm-hmm.
And if you use a property management company, they're going to charge you between 20 and 35%. So I'm not convinced that using a management company actually makes you any more money than it would if it was a long-term rental. That's the real answer.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you market fully? How do you, as Wendy and John and in your company, market to reach all the platforms that are out there? Do you?
Yes and no. So you, a marketplace, and realize Airbnb is a marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
It's a place that brings buyers and sellers together. That's all it is.
Just like eBay, just like Amazon, just any of those other.
And HomeAway and all those. A marketplace is only as good as the traffic that it generates. So while there are hundreds of them, 75 that I probably could name, besides Airbnb and HomeAway, there's FlipKey, there's TripAdvisor, there's all of these. Their value is only in the traffic they can bring your business.
Right.
And each one of them charges you a fee for that, by the way. Even an Airbnb, even though you don't feel it as a host, it's a 20% commission.
Yeah.
Your guests are paying 20% more than they would.
Yeah, it's the most expensive one.
If they went with you direct. So ultimately you want to get direct customers. But of course the advantage of an Airbnb is they're doing all that for you. They're doing the marketing, they're doing they're providing the infrastructure and all that kind of thing. So as far as marketing goes, being listed on platforms is a way to market. But since we're in the situation we're in with the whole virus thing, it's become more important for us to reach not an international market, which an Airbnb is great for, but it's been more important for us to reach a local and regional market.
Yep.
And that becomes very much more a traditional marketing type play, where you're doing all the things that your local businesses would be doing, like posting on social media, referral marketing, all that kind of guerrilla stuff.
We talk to a lot of other real estate agents.
We call it, well, we've learned it, but it's centers of influence networking. So you want to go to where your centers of influence are, like your chiropractors, like your doctors, like your fraternal organizations are great for this. Like your Samaritan's Purse, like your
and hospitals.
Hospitals are great for that. But it's that type of
Any
thinking.
kind of
It's not just
business.
say I'm going to list my thing somewhere.
Restaurants.
It becomes much more, I don't know, for lack of a better term, guerrilla or
You really got to hit the
marketing.
pavement. It's very organic.
You get referrals, you get word of mouth.
That's exactly right.
But frankly, it's more profitable. April in the short-term rental business.
No
April
lie.
this month was our most profitable month
ever.
Wow.
And we got all of our bookings were canceled in March, and the very next month we had the best month we have ever had.
And you know why? Because most of those bookings did not come from an Airbnb or a HomeAway or anything you've ever heard of.
That's right.
They came direct.
They came direct, and we took them direct because we have our own direct booking website.
And that's why we made the best money we made, revenue-wise.
Well, let's talk about the virus and the impact that has had on you guys. Did you have any statewide shutdowns? Did they ban your short-term rentals, or how are you dealing with those curveballs that come right in the middle of spring break?
Yeah, March sucked. For us, January is a slow month anyway. And so we depend on February, March, April is kind of the march up to the summer where we do the best, right? And all of that got double whammied with, hey, in March, everybody canceled. And because we serve families with children, they tend to, in March and springtime, be coming for graduations and
family
weddings and
reunions.
events that all got canceled. So all the reservations got canceled, which was hard. March was bad for us.
It was bad.
But we were able to turn around by doing those exact same things that we talked about, going back to our core and saying, who do we serve? Those people still need housing. They just don't have our number.
Yeah. And like Wendy said, how many people had a problem and you guys had the perfect solution just waiting for them. They just didn't know about it yet.
Yep.
It's true. And when I hear stuff like, well, short-term rentals are banned and stuff like that, nothing's banned that's 30 days or more. Our shortest booking is 21 days. That's why we did so good in April.
Right.
We have people staying for a month, 3 months. They're longer stays because they have a different need. We have a nurse staying with us. It's been here for 2 months. We have somebody that moved their parents out of a retirement community because they were concerned about them being in that community and controlling the virus. They booked with us for 102 days for $14,500.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's how we were able to have that great month of April, and then it's going to go for the next 3 months too. But it became I see a lot of that, like I can't do anything, and everything's banned and all that kind of stuff, and to me that's very limiting. I always think back to one of our mentors, Larry Harbaugh. He always says, don't tell me what you can't do, tell me what you can do. And a lot of those things that you see that are bans or laws or whatever, they're telling you what you can't do. But if you change your mindset to say, what are they telling me I can do?
Yeah.
And a lot of those tend to be, okay, well, you can if you're serving essential workers, and you can if you're doing 30 days or more, and you can if you're And I get that it's harder to do if you're a traditional beach house. That's harder to do. But there are people in your area, I submit to you, there are people in your area that need housing. Housing is an essential service. Everybody needs it. And if you look at the basics of what you have, that's what you have. You have housing.
One of the things here is the problem is it has not hit here. We don't have any of the issues here, like for medical needs, because there's very few cases here. So what they're talking about right now is letting people put them under a 30-day and then let them break the lease. And then they're also talking about a class action suit that they're putting together because they have not let us, because of the ban, and yet all the hotels are still rolling.
Yeah, and that's what I'm telling you. You can get into that mess and be like, this is awful, and I'm going to sign a petition, but they ain't putting money in your pocket.
I know. Yeah.
One of the things that we've transitioned to is serving insurance clients. There are people in your area that just had a house fire, and you know that because you're going and trying to buy the property.
Yep. Yeah, true.
Those people that have insurance, guess what they need? A place to stay.
Yep.
Why don't they have your phone number? Why do they don't want to go stay in a hotel with a bunch of other people that possibly have who knows what?
We're pets.
They want to come stay in a house that's equivalent to what they just got burned out of or had a flood in, or those people exist. And the danger of being a Airbnb business is those people don't have your number.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about, hey, you got to do more local and regional marketing to say, hey, here we are. We have a solution for you, because the only reason they're not staying with you is they don't know about you.
Right.
All right, John, I'm on it.
Just saying.
No, that's awesome. Those are good points and good reminders and good, troubleshooting we need right now. Absolutely.
Insurance clients are the best because they don't care what it costs.
Yes.
Because they
highly recommend.
Some of our best clients have become insurance companies. But when we get off this, I'll give you the insight on. We've got contacts.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we're just approaching kind of our normal episode length, but I want to give you guys the opportunity to is there anything else you have to add? And then you definitely got to tell our audience where we can find you, where they can find your book, and that kind of stuff.
We do. We have our book. Here it is.
Wow, look at that.
Check it out.
Awesome.
Wendy, you and John had talked about offering education also. Or
Yeah.
do y'all have that program set up that people could contact you about?
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Share that with us.
So we have a community, and it is help me
On Facebook?
on Facebook.
We've got so many different places you can go. Well, we do. We have a Facebook community.
Seriously, I have to write it down now. See that whiteboard? It is full of things that I'm supposed to be remembering. And I can't remember all of it now.
So we do. So we brand as the Cash Flow Couple.
Right. So we are the Cash Flow Couple. You can find us anywhere. We have a podcast, the Cash Flow Couple, on any kind of
wherever you're listening to this now, you can probably find it. Yeah.
Awesome.
There is a Facebook group you can join that we added this year. Actually, it's the Cash Flow Couple Community. It's facebook.com/the Cash Flow Couple Community. It could be easier. You can also find us on our website at thecashflowcouple.com. There you can opt into the education that we have. And by the way, it's free for a month. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. But we have a lot of pre-recorded content there, and also get you access to the community. And again, it's free for a month. And even after that, it's like $59 a month. I don't know why we don't have 10,000 people joining that, but it's there. Free's a no-brainer, right? So we've got that. We have our book. You can definitely go check out that. It's 88 Secrets to Success for Your Short-Term Rental Business. I think it's awesome. And we're in the process of writing another one.
Yep, we're writing our second book.
We may just give that one away.
Yeah,
but,
we may just give, I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
But it's there.
So that's it.
Where else do you want to send people? Yeah. info@thecashflowcouple.com. Do you want more places to contact us?
See why I have to write it down?
Okay, John,
if you're looking for a place to stay in Charlotte,
There you go.
if you're coming to the Charlotte area, you can go to queencitysuites.com. SUITES, not SWEETES. We're not selling candy. So it's queencitysuites.com. You can definitely stay with us if you're in the area. And what else do we have to sell?
Good job. Good job. Oh, no, you're
is the second book piggybacking off the first, or is it something different?
It is something different, but still related to short-term rentals.
Secrets?
Nope. It's called 5 Steps to Your First Airbnb.
Love it.
Changed the title.
I've changed the title.
Okay, now we got to talk about that.
Uh-oh. The process. There's nothing set in stone. It's all a process.
Right.
We'll talk later.
And with that, no, I'm just kidding. But honestly, guys, we're so grateful for your friendship. We're grateful for your advice in our first short-term rental season. It's not going as planned, but we know it's going to keep getting better. And thank you so much for finding the time to be with us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for
Absolutely.
having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, if you need anything, just let us know. We're always here for you guys. We're honored to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Jam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all you do.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information and updates, check out our website, shorefrontrestorations.com, or find us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Shorefront Restorations. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us an email at info@shorefrontrestorations.com. See you next episode.